was a two-stage workshop. It was one was a theoretical discussion about identity and its relevance to otherness. So we presented the idea of living in constant otherness as the way that we explain what we mean by being understanding ourselves. And that led us to discussion about particular forms of identity. And we drew from data that Alistair, from a study that Alistair is currently conducting with young people around Europe. And we examined the raw data, discussing about the way that young people portray their identities. They play with the I and they, and how the two develop a dualistic relationship, and one cannot be understood without the other. And so it was, as I said, the first part of the workshop, it was theoretical, but the next one, it was very much a practical one with analysis of data. We actually, after working on hard-to-reach groups and the concept of citizenship education for hard-to-reach groups, we're now, we've been working for this, on this topic for about 2 years now. And has, perhaps because of the conference, perhaps because our discussions naturally have led to this, we're discussing now about hard-to-reach as the other, and how we need groups whom we identify as hard to reach in order to reinstate our own identity. And the our is very much a debatable term, because I don't know where I'm putting myself, to be honest. And as a mainstream. So in a way, we create the hard to reach as much as we reach out to bring them to the mainstream. So it very much relates. We started the discussions about hard-to-reach citizenship education for hard-to-reach groups as a kind of effort to establish an inclusive society. And I think that we're at the stage in which we doubt very much ourselves about what it means in terms of identity game and identity performance. This depends on the setting, on the time frame, and the particular context in which we discuss. But this is the most difficult question that you could pose, because we are, especially at the stage in which we are, in which we are very much doubt. We see that we're very uncomfortable even naming ourselves as mainstream. So what we're saying is that exclusion, or not exclusion, but marginalization, the margins in general, and the non-belonging to mainstream is a very comfortable position that we all aspire to, and we all want to save for ourselves. And we more often identify ourselves as excluded, marginalized, or different than mainstream. So in the simple answer is any group that I belong in, it must be a marginalized and hard to reach group. Now, beyond that, I think that there are, of course, some groups which do not have access to particular goods, particular services, and they develop cultures which they seem to create to become dysfunctional, or some aspects of this culture is recognized as dysfunctional. But I think that I'm quite careful on what the terms that I'm using here, is because the question is dysfunctional as for whom. And we know that any change, any societal change, comes from groups that establish behaviors and attitudes that are considered as dysfunctional at the start, until they bring the change. So I don't think that I will feel comfortable, or I think that it will be appropriate to give an answer to the particular answer to the question which are the groups, or I will very much avoid to give you a direct answer identifying one group. What I would say is that there are particular groups that have issues of access to particular goods, services, etc., etc. So it's financial, structural issues that lead to these groups being identified as hard to reach, in which case the question is posed, so they are not hard to reach, we are hard to reach for them. Because one of the key questions that citizenship education comes to address is the issue of establishing an inclusive society. And I think that what we try to argue through the suggestion of a democratic citizenship education, of establishment and offer of democratic citizenship education opportunities, is that we want to create a democratic society, a society that is based on respect for diversity and use the diversity as the main resource for its own establishment, for its own good. So democracy needs diversity. If we're all the same, so there won't be that's not democracy. That's democracy wouldn't work. So we want to allow all this diversity to have access to the mechanism that support the society, and that's why it's important. In a way, what we're saying is that everyone should be different, but everyone should feel able to access and to reach and be reached. However, we know that perhaps the answer is in the question here, and perhaps we cannot establish a non-hard-to-reach society, a society without hard-to-reach groups, because if the communication between the margins and the center is open, then there won't be margins and center. We will create, slightly. There must be some issues of differentiation, which comes also with varied levels of access. But I think that what is important here is for the communities, for the societies to for us to discuss, question, and address the structural differences which which support these differences. And we do that because we want to create the opportunity. Now, whether this opportunity will be something that people take up, that groups will take up, it's very much questionable. But I guess this is a different question for democracy to address.